Hello, my artists and artists. Today we are going to be reading a new book, my golden book about Frida Kahlo. This is a very special book because it was donated by two of my wonderful Erickson artists. Thank you to the Taylor family for adding this to our art library. Frida Kahlo happens to be one of my favorite artists. My golden book about Frida Kahlo by Sylvia Lopez, illustrated by Elisa Chavarri. Frida Kahlo was born on July 6, 1907, just outside Mexico City in a blue house with green shutters. Her father, Guillermo, had built the blue house, called La Casa Azul, for his wife, Matilde, and their 4 daughters, Matilde, Adriana, Frida, and little Cristina. La Casa Azul's courtyard garden was perfect for exploring. Frida collected rocks, leaves, and insects. She wanted to be a doctor, although at that time, girls were not always encouraged to study. One morning, Frida complained of a terrible pain in one leg. She had contracted polio, a disease that keeps muscles from growing properly. We now have a vaccine to prevent polio, but back then, nothing could be done. Frida's leg became weak. She had to stay in bed for months. How boring. To entertain herself, she fogged up the window with her breath and drew a door with her finger. Then she pretended to fly out and go dancing with a secret friend. Polio left Frida with a limp, but she was strong and independent. Her father encouraged her to play sports, even wrestling. Guillermo was a photographer. He showed her lovely buildings and taught her about Mexico's beautiful art and history. He knew his daughter was smart. Frida was accepted to an excellent high school. There were more than 2,000 boys and only 35 girls. She was a good student, but she was also mischievous. Frida once sneaked a donkey into the school and let it wander through the halls. One day, an artist named Diego Rivera came to the school to paint a mural. Frida began playing pranks. She stole Diego's lunch. She made noises behind his back. But she also loved watching him work, her eyes sparkling beneath eyebrows shaped like a raven's wing. When she was 18, Frida was badly hurt in an accident. After many surgeries, much of her body was placed in a cast. She had to lie on her back for months. Frida could not return to school. She set aside her dreams of becoming a doctor. She could move only her arms and hands, so she decided to paint. A mirror was placed underneath her bed canopy, and Frida became her own model. I paint myself because I am so often alone. When she felt better, she wanted to know whether her paintings were good. She found Diego Rivera high on a scaffold making another mural and asked him to look at her work. Diego thought Frida had talent. He began visiting La Casa Azul to discuss art. Though he and Frida were very different, Frida's parents called them the elephant and the dove. They soon fell in love and were married. Diego was older than Frida and already famous. Frida accompanied him to parties wearing traditional Mexican dresses, jewelry, and hairstyles. And despite pain from her old injuries, she kept painting. Both Frida and her art were as colorful as the Mexican culture she loved. Frida and Diego traveled to several cities in the United States so Diego could paint murals. Frida was so homesick. Her feelings came out in her art. One painting showed a dress floating in the air. This was her way of saying that although she lived in America, her heart was back home in Mexico. An exhibition of Frida's work in New York received a lot of attention. Later, the Louvre Museum in Paris bought one of her paintings, the first piece of art by a 20th century Mexican artist in its collection. Frida had become world famous. Frida and Diego moved to La Casa Azul. She filled the house with things she loved: ancient pottery, dolls, and lots of pets. There were rabbits, parrots, Mexican hairless dogs, a deer, an eagle, and a spider monkey named Fulong Chang. La Casa Azul was a lively place. Frida taught art to talented students, and she threw a party on every Mexican holiday. One day, Mexico City organized a show of Frida's paintings. Her doctor said she was too sick to attend, but Frida dressed in her best outfit, hired an ambulance, and had her bed brought from La Casa Azul to the show. She greeted her admirers lying down. Frida's health had never been good, but that didn't keep her from working every day. She made more self-portraits. She also created beautiful paintings of her family and people she admired. Frida's last painting was of watermelons, red and green, like the Mexican flag. On one slice were the words, "Viva la vida," long live life. Frida Kahlo died in La Casa Azul on July 13, 1954. The home later became the Frida Kahlo Museum. Today, thousands of people visit La Casa Azul each year. Her house is still full of life. Museo Frida Kahlo. Frida would have liked that. The end. I hope you liked the book and learning more about Mexican artist Frida Kahlo.